Hey there, guys. Welcome back to ReVAMP 1. Now, we are going to go through circuit number 2 today. This is a program overview. This is not the workout video. You will see the workout video in a separate video. Okay, this is just an overview of the program and a walk and talk through the exercises. So, like I said, circuit number 2, I suggest you print your program off so you can track your progress. You can track how many repetitions, how much weight you've used, how much resistance you've used. Okay, remember, progress is our biggest motivator. That's why I encourage you to print it off, and that's why I encourage you to track what you've previously done. So, circuit number 2 is a lower body focus. We have 4 exercises specifically looking at the lower limbs. Okay, so we're going to be looking, we've got things like chair squats, we've got something called a golfer's lift. We're going to do some stuff on the floor, which is a glute bridge, and we've got clam shells as well. Okay, so really focusing on the hips, really focusing on glute activation. After we finish that, we then have 4 exercises we're going to do on the floor that again specifically targets that core, that trunk section. Okay, now this is beginners and also advanced exercises and programming within this video and on this program. So I'm going to give you the repetitions and the sets as we kind of go along, giving you a difference between the two. Now in this one, there are a couple more exercises that I have programmed for the advanced group rather than the beginners. So this is entirely up to you if you want to try these exercises or not. The reason that we have the advanced and also the beginners group is so that people that have, perhaps this is your first time following a program, challenging yourself, especially trying to train at home, which is very different to a gym environment. I don't want you to get frustrated if you can't do some of these exercises. Some of them are a little bit advanced. Some of them are really designed to challenge you quite a lot. And I don't want you to get frustrated with that because everyone's on their own journey. Everyone's fitness and ability progress is an individual journey. So I don't want you to get frustrated with that. That's why you got the option of the two. Okay. So first exercise again is chair squats. We did this in circuit number 1. So we've got chair squats again, but remember we're going straight into another lower limb exercise. So we're going to really build up that kind of stress within the lower limbs. So you're going to find it a little bit more challenging. First exercise, chair squats. So again, if you need your pole or your stick, you're going to go for chair squats. I'll just briefly talk through this one again. I know we did it in circuit number 1. Standing up and back down. Use that stick if you need to. Try not to use your hands because this will throw you off balance. If you don't need that stick, to make it slightly easier, you can use your hands as a bit of momentum. If you want more of a challenge, arms across the shoulders, keep it nice and rigid, nice and tight. And if you want even more of a challenge, this is where you might want a couple of bottles of water to really kind of add a bit of extra resistance and give you that challenge. Our next exercise is a golfer's lift. Oh, what's the repetitions on that one? For the chair squats, for the beginners, 8 to 12 repetitions, and for the advanced, 12 to 20 repetitions. This is a circuit, so you're going to go from exercise 1 to 4 without rest, take 60 seconds, and then go back up to the top. So your next exercise is a golfer's lift. Now this is a challenging exercise, purely for balance. You might find it pretty strenuous as well. So the golfer's lift, if I show you without the chair to start with, but we're also going to use the chair for a bit of balance. Golfer's lift, right leg goes behind you, the other leg, you keep a very slight bend in the knee. So you don't lock it straight, you keep a very slight bend in the knee, keeping that back nice and straight, reaching forwards and touching the floor and back up, or somewhere near the floor. The reason it's called golfer's lift, because when the golfers pick up their balls like that, okay? You often see them do that. That's why it's called golfer's lift. So one leg at a time, hold that balance, hold that control, and back up. So the hardest thing about this is the balance. Okay, to make it slightly easier, we can take away the balance issue by holding on to something. So you need 2 things to hold on to, 2 chairs, 2 poles, 2 sticks, like so. Okay, really important that we think about sticking your bum out as you go down. Okay, and that's going to really activate those hamstrings and glutes, so really posterior. Now, moving on to the prosthetic side. This one is the challenge. I'm going to use 2 hands onto the chair. My range of motion is going to be a lot less, a lot more restricted on this side. I'm also going to keep my left leg on the floor for balance, okay? Now, I don't have very good balance on my prosthetic side at all. I imagine some of you do have much better than I do, but I want to show you anyway. So I'm going to just be light on my foot, so it's just my toes. Think about trying to be light through the hands as well, but there for support if you need it. And again, sticking that bum out, lower yourself down and push back up. Same idea as the squats. When I gave you the analogy of with the leg bent and then snapping the knee backwards as you stand up. Obviously, we're not bending the leg on this one, but as you lower yourself down, think about now pulling your hips forwards. So you're driving those hips forwards. All that weight onto that prosthetic side, really push up. Prosthetic side and push up. Okay, you're really going to feel that first hamstrings and into the glutes. Okay, great exercise, but I appreciate it's going to take a few weeks to master that one. It's a bit technical. The next exercise. Well, let me talk about repetitions on that one. Repetitions for the golfer's lift. If you are beginners, I've suggested 8 each leg. And if you're advanced, no more than around 12 each side, especially if it's the first time you're doing it, you're really going to feel it the next day. Okay, so 12 repetitions for that one. Glute bridge is exercise number 3. So onto the floor again, bending those knees, hands by your sides, and you are thinking about pushing your hips off the ground and back down. Off the ground and back down. Okay, so try and squeeze those heels into the floor. Drive those heels into the floor and squeeze your bum towards the ceiling. Okay, you should not feel this in your lower back. If you're feeling it in your lower back, it's probably because you're trying to arch up with your chest. Think about trying to keep this all nice and connected, and it's just the hips doing the work. Okay, that is your glute bridge. For the beginners, I have suggested 10 to 15 repetitions, and for the advanced is 15 to 20 repetitions. The last exercise of this little circuit, we've got clam shells. So think about a clam. Don't know if you know what a clam is. Actually, I've got a shell here. This is a clam shell that you see down at the beach. I don't know if you can see that or not. So think about that is the position, or that is the shape we are using with our legs. Okay, so think about the clam when it opens up and closed. You're doing that now with your hips. Okay, so feet together, feet on top of each other. So I've just kind of like hooked my foot underneath it. I don't know if you can see that there. And then think about using and driving back with that glute, opening out as far as you can and back down. Opening out as far as you can and back down. This is called clam shells. Okay, with this one, don't worry about it to start with if you've not done this one before. But you don't want to be just kind of like lying around. You want to be staying quite active through that trunk. Okay, almost like shoulders stacked on top of each other rather than just kind of relaxed and just going with the hips. Okay, you want to try and make it as challenging as possible. That's the idea. That's the only way we're going to see adaptation. That's the only way we're going to improve our fitness, our toning, and our strength. Right. On to the next side. We're going to try and do both sides here. Same again. Feet on top of each other, staying nice and engaged and switched on, not relaxing into it and just lying around. We're doing precise movements. Deliberate exercise. Okay, doing that clamshell. So we've got 12 either side for beginners, and then we have 20 each leg for the advanced. So quite an easy exercise to start with, but the burn, that lactic burn will really start to kick in. Okay, especially because we've gone from chair squats, golfer's lift, glute bridge, and then clam shells. Take 60 seconds rest. The second round, round number 2, you've got that residual fatigue in the system already, and you're really going to notice you're going to feel a little bit slower, perhaps a little bit more tired, and then certainly circuit number 3, set number 3 is going to be challenging as well. So for beginners, I've suggested 3, and for the advanced is 3 to 4. Okay, but again, you don't want to be necessarily at the top range of this in week 1 and 2. You want to be working yourself towards this. Week 7 to 12, so program number 2, okay, is going to be slightly more challenging than this. So it is important that we challenge ourselves enough to keep up with the program, okay? So that's kind of why that progressive challenge, I guess, throughout the program is there. Good. That's circuit number 2, lower body focus, done. We are now moving on to upper body, okay? Oh, sorry, core. We are now moving on to the core. However, I have thrown a little bit of upper body into this first exercise. It's a plank push-up, okay? So you would have noticed in circuit number 1, I performed the plank where you simply just hold this position. Now, what I want us to do is a plank push-up. Now, this looks like this. Start down onto your elbows, and you get back onto your hands. Down onto the elbows, back onto the hands, okay? I suggest you do, I don't know how many repetitions I've said. For the beginners, I've said 8, so that's 4 to the left, 4 to the right. And for the advanced, this is 12, so 6 to the left, 6 to the right. To make this one easier, of course, you can do it on your knees, which quite a lot of the weight out of it, or you can do it on the chair. Okay, starting in this position, down and back up. Now, what this teaches you, obviously, you're working through the upper body, so you're getting a lot more muscle groups involved, but it really teaches you that core and trunk connection. Okay, so moving through the plank just adds that little extra challenge to what's going on around your core. Good. Then we move on to the next core exercise, which is something called a dish. Now, a dish is the opposite of a plank. Okay, so we're going to be holding a position, this position here, for a couple of seconds. So to make it harder, legs off the ground. To make it even harder, hands off the ground. Okay, you may just want to do one leg off the ground. Depends how you feel about your residual limb. We're going to be holding that, so it's the shape of a dish, which is why it's called the dish. We're going to be holding that position. For the beginners, is 20 to 30 seconds. And for the advanced, is 30 to 45 seconds. It's a really challenging exercise. With the dish, just make sure you don't collapse. You don't want to be rounded. You want to sit proud, chest up. Hold this position. When I take my legs off the ground, it makes it quite a lot harder, but I tend to feel it a lot in my hip flexors, whereas just leaning backwards, I engage my core and I can feel a lot more going through my core. Okay, so I personally find it easier, or not easier, I should say that. I personally find it more effective with my feet on the floor because I'm not then engaging the wrong muscles. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do with that one. Good stuff. If you are beginners, that is your 2 exercises done. If you are on the advanced and you want a bit more of a challenge, we then move on to side plank. Okay, side plank left, feet stacked on top of each other, hips on top of each other, elbow underneath the shoulder, and you hold this position here. 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, you're really going to feel it through that oblique, you're going to feel it through that hip, you're going to feel it in the shoulder as well. It's a really, really tough one, this one. If you've not done side planks before, or if you find that your prosthetic just simply isn't supportive enough, if you've got a really rubbish fitting socket, you're going to find this one pretty tough, really challenging. So what you can do is bend that bottom knee, so you're not doing it on your foot, and then you're just going from the knee, so you shorten the lever, basically, so you'll make it slightly easier. Yeah. Another way you could do it is pile up a load of cushions. You might need a few more than this. And go hip and line like this. Now that has made it considerably easier. Be careful you're not leaning into it. Remember, you're keeping it proud, you're keeping it strong. Okay, and you're just gonna keep that core nice and tight, pulling that belly button in, core engaged. Excellent stuff. So that is circuit number 2. Okay, some of that might look a little bit complicated. I don't want you to be overwhelmed, but in these exercises, I want them to be fun but challenging. Okay, don't worry about the technique too much. It's just about moving your body, getting used to these exercises, and like I said, enjoying it. Okay, once you finish this circuit, you're going to feel like you've really done some good work. You're going to be hot, you're going to be sweaty, the endorphins are going to be rushing. Okay, keep that sense of achievement. Okay, look after yourselves. You're doing a fantastic job, and I'll see you in the next one. Good stuff, guys. Well done.